It was something subtle my dad taught me. I'm Joseph. This is Input English. This channel provides comprehensible input. By listening to these stories and discussions, you can absorb the English language. Comprehensible input is the modern trend in language learning. It works. If you need to know more about comprehensible input, I have a lot of videos on that topic that explains it in detail. So let's get started with today's episode. I started out by saying that it was something subtle my dad taught me. This goes back to when I was perhaps 14, and I was trying to be a photographer at the sporting events at the high school. My dad had been trained when he was in the U.S. Army as a photographer, and so he was well equipped to teach me the skills of photography. This was a great project for father and son to work together on. One of my tasks as a young photographer was to obtain images, that is, take pictures at these sporting events. I had a camera with a flash, and so we went to the first football game where I was going to make these photographs. When we arrived, I suggested that I try to find an official and get permission to do what I was going to do. My dad smiled and said, "No, you don't need permission. You have a camera. You have a job to do. Go do it. Act like you own the place." That's exactly what I did, and it worked. When I showed up on the sidelines of this football game with a camera, nobody said a word to me. They knew what I was there to do. They didn't question me. Not one person ever told me I was not supposed to be there. Not one person questioned my authority. I just acted natural and did what I was supposed to do, which was to make photographs. Now, if we go back to the advice that he gave me, it was part of all the things that he had taught me for my first 14 years. Parents teach us by example. That is, they show us in their behavior patterns of behavior that are good, so we can emulate our parents. That is, we can duplicate their behavior. They can actually give us specific instructions. Don't do this, do this. It can be very, very specific. And then sometimes their advice is very subtle, very nuanced. So the word subtle comes to English from Latin. I think it came through French as well. If something is subtle, it is delicate and complex to the point that it's difficult to analyze and difficult to express in words. A lot of things are subtle in life. There's another word, nuanced. Nuance, the word, comes to us directly from French. And I believe in French, nuance means shade. It's very similar to the word subtle. That is, it means something that is difficult to explain in words, difficult to analyze. Something that is artful, something that is subtle. So to me, my dad's advice, act like you own the place, had some significant subtlety to it. Taken to extreme, that advice might garner arrogance. Now, arrogance is when one has an inflated opinion of oneself, one's self-importance, and we don't want arrogance. I am not aware of any setting where arrogance is a virtue. For my money, arrogance is a fault. So I want to avoid arrogance. So if we follow my dad's advice, act like you own the place, but you don't want to get to the extreme of arrogance, then basically he's talking about having confidence. What he said, to flesh out my understanding of his statement, supported that. He said, you have a camera and you have a job to do. Go in there and do your job. As we go through life, we get lots of advice, and for the first couple of decades of our life, frequently that advice comes directly from our own parents. When we get advice, it is just part of the experience, and these lessons that we get are not specifically labeled, this is important. They're just like everything else we learn as we grow up. But looking back, to me, that advice from my dad to act like you own the place, that is, be confident, do your job, and get the job done, was great advice. It has served me ever since that day. No matter what the situation was, I would strive to figure out what my role is in it, what needs to be done, what should I do, and then let's get that done. This is very much at work in language learning. With language learning, it takes a little bit of confidence, and we have some tools for building that confidence. When I showed up at the football game, my dad's ability to identify my confidence focused on having a camera and knowing how to use it. He knew I could compose and obtain good photographs recorded on the film so that we could make great images for use by the school in the newspaper and the yearbook. So he helped me develop that confidence that I was supposed to be there. In language learning, we have a tool for developing confidence, and that is input. This is decidedly lacking in traditional methods. In traditional methods, we study grammar and lists of vocabulary. It's hard to remember those rules of grammar. It's difficult to remember all the vocabulary we memorized. And then we're called upon to speak, and what we lack is confidence. With a little bit of input, just a little bit of input, you don't garner much confidence. But I can tell you from experience, if you have a lot of input, if you have listened to perhaps thousands of hours of English in this case, that is actually your source of confidence. Many times, language learners express a concern that they get embarrassed when they try to speak and they freeze up. Often they switch back into their native language, hoping that the person they're talking to will be able to work with them using their own language. In other words, they give up. They don't have the confidence to continue. What's the chance that's ever happened to me? Absolutely. It happens to all of us. It's normal. But with more input comes more confidence. And with more confidence, the problem of getting embarrassed, freezing up, and switching into the native language gets less and less frequent. I think it's important, if we do have an unpleasant experience where we froze up and got embarrassed, that we not put too much emphasis on that. It doesn't really help us. It's just part of the process. And those events I basically just try to forget. They provide me with evidence that I just need more input. Really, for me, the solution for all my problems in language learning is just more input. Now, we need to have output for sure, but arithmetically it's very small compared to the input. My mental image of how much input you need for a language compared to the output is about a 10-to-1 ratio. If I have 2,000 hours of input, then I'm thinking in terms of trying to get 200 hours or perhaps 300 hours of output, speaking practice with other people in the target language. Now, as we become more fluent, our output actually continues to grow and will take off. So when I say 10% of my program is targeted toward output, specifically that output came later in the game because I want a lot of input to support that output. And it's not a prescription, it's a strategy. What I've done is created a mental image of a short-term goal to get a lot of input, and then toward the end of that experience of gathering input, add a much smaller amount of output. That combination is a great way to approach fluency. Now, that may not fit your situation. If you've watched my videos before, you probably know that this channel is very inclusive of people who have a variety of backgrounds. There are people watching this channel who studied English in school for perhaps a decade. We have people watching this channel who have been speaking English somewhat over much of their lifetime. So I don't want to be overly prescriptive on what you have to do. I'm just giving ideas. As I was putting my thoughts together for this episode, what came to mind is the dynamic nature of language. The English language from my childhood is different than the English language of the 21st century. The differences are not huge, they're more subtle. In the 21st century, we have an expression that is commonly heard in English. It comes as advice that we should take ownership of something, or it may be a statement we make. I can take ownership of that. Taking ownership of something means that you are taking the responsibility for it. I think this is a similar expression to the advice my dad gave me. Basically, he told me to go to the sideline of the football game, take ownership of my job, and then do my job. But at the time, the succinct way he could express that was, act like you own the place. I think whatever human endeavor we embrace, we need to have the confidence to know that we're supposed to do this job and that we're ready and prepared to do it so we can act like we own the place. That is, we can approach our task with confidence. I invite comments below, and if you like videos like this, be sure to click on this one next. See you soon.